Bitcoin made a beautiful push to the psychological level of 40,000 and has since consolidated around that area. Very encouraging not to see it dropping and getting rejected immediately. While DOT has been listed on Coinbase Pro, or will be in the coming days, and Matic, aka Polygon, has continued to go up regardless of bull or bear market. I'm going to share what I'm looking at on all three of those charts, as well as all of the news driving markets today. Let's go. What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of All Streets. Before we get started, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, thumbs up right down below. As I mentioned, Bitcoin has hit that 40,000 psychological level, which is not really a meaningful level on the chart, but still people love to see those round numbers. We're going to take a look at that chart and all of the news right now and see what we can figure out. As you can see here, we are looking at the daily chart. We've heard a lot of talk about the death cross on the daily chart of the 50 MA in blue and the 200 MA in red. Well, right now, if price remains up, the 50 may turn up and that death cross may never happen. And even if it does, death crosses and MAs in general tend to be lagging indicators based on what happened before and not as what likely to come. But either way, we do have the 200 MA here as clear resistance with potential tweezer tops on the daily. MA traders definitely want to see a push above that and to see that 200 flip to support. But we did have this beautiful breakout here on slightly increased volume from this descending resistance, and now have moved basically up to the top of the local range and to a lot of resistance. Now, as I touched on Twitter before, the reason we look at charts and the reason that we do technical analysis is to see what other humans are doing. It's merely a visualization of human emotion and psychology. What we're looking for in a chart is where other human beings are likely to make a bad decision. I am not telling you what to do as a trade. I am just saying that we are at a lot of resistance, as I will show you on multiple time frames, and that tends to be when people get bullish, right at resistance, just like they tend to get bearish at support and short it. I have no idea what price is going to do. I can only say that we are coming into a lot of resistance and need to see a lot of volume and a major push to get above it. As you can see on the 4-hour chart, we've been bullish basically since down here when we swept these lows, flipped the 50 MA, flipped the EQ of this trading range, and moved up into this key supply zone that I've marked so many times. We've had all these rejections here and significant moves down. Well, this time we moved into it, we're holding it and consolidating here. Consolidation generally leads to expansion. When you hit resistance, you do not want to see a major rejection. What you want to see is this consolidation, because that can lead to volume coming in and a push through resistance. You can see the 200 MA here on the 4 hours acting as resistance and support alternately at this time. We got to get above this supply zone and then ultimately above this range around 43,000. We keep talking about 42,000 as the key level, but as you can see, we really need to get above 42, 43. A lot of people are pointing at 45 because that would clear all of these levels of resistance. Even at 42, we have the range highs here in the 50 MA I just showed you on the daily above. So like I said, we need to see significant volume and real buying interest to push us through all of this resistance, but consolidating here below it is generally a good sign that it could be gearing up to gain strength for that move. Now let's take a look very quickly at Polkadot. As I mentioned before, it will be listed on Coinbase Pro, I believe tomorrow, but either way, the announcement is what caused us to break through resistance. It's funny when news always lines up with resistance, doesn't it? 1, 2, 3 touches confirming this trend line down. This was the news, break on significant volume through resistance, and now we're getting a retest. If you are a trader who likes to trade breakouts and retests, this is actually considered a technically perfect entry. But if you believe that it was only up because of the pump and we'll retrace that entire move, this zone is the area that you would be looking to buy. By the time this video comes out, we will know probably how this ended. But if you are a trader who likes descending resistance breakouts, you're getting a perfect retest at this moment. On the USDT pair, you can see that DOT had the same strong move through resistance right here on increasing volume when they made that announcement. Again, we have a similar demand zone if it drops back and a similar area that we could theoretically get a retest of descending resistance. Totally up to you. I'm not trading alts right now. I fear that a big Bitcoin move in either direction could be deleterious to altcoin price action, so there aren't that many great scenarios in my mind for alts, even though they can always surprise me and have a mini alt season at any moment. But DOT does have a fundamental reason to go up. It's a great platform and does have this news, and the chart looks pretty good. Now let's take a quick look at Matic Polygon. I love this asset. I've been trading it since 6 cents on this run and have made a ton of money. It's single-handedly trying to hold up my portfolio and many others, and now it's setting up for another move. We have a perfect symmetrical triangle, up, down, alternating touches, 2 on support, 2 on resistance, which confirms this triangle. If you view it as a bull pennant, which I do not necessarily, I think it's a little too big, and the flagpole is not that clear, but your flagpole would be here, and wherever it breaks out, you pull that flagpole over here and you extrapolate a target. This is shorter because we're on a logarithmic chart based on percentages and not fixed prices. If you believe that it's just an agnostic symmetrical triangle, the depth of the triangle gives you a target, also based on the breakout. And many people trade a symmetrical triangle by pulling a parallel line to support and extrapolating targets that way whenever it hits the line. Regardless, we will have a lot of clarity. If it breaks support, that's your time to exit, in theory. And if it pushes through resistance, and especially if it retests the support, that would be potentially a great bullish entry. But this is definitely setting up right now for something. Personally, I'm setting alarms on both of these lines, and we'll just let it be and see what happens when the time comes. Now let's take a very quick look at the news. Bitcoin Ether price indicator support near-term relief rally. Bitcoin's weekly stochastic oscillator has turned up from oversold or below -20 levels, a positive sign for the cryptocurrency. If you trade on stochastic, you see it moves very quickly from oversold to overbought. It's been oversold for a while, so curling up, you know that inevitably it will take a trip to overbought. The question is when, and it's hard to judge on a weekly chart because it moves so absolutely slowly, but it is good to see that there are indicators that are starting to show that we could have bottomed. Down here in this part, they're talking about a TD9. I went over that in the video yesterday. Tom DeMark, TD sequential buy 9 on the weekly as well yesterday. So maybe we're going to get some relief soon. According to Stockton, an initial resistance for Bitcoin is near 47,000, which is breached would open the doors for further gains. However, Pankaj Balani, CEO of Delta Exchange, expects fresh sellers to step in above 45,000. Like I said, there's a whole lot of resistance above. I love this story. Hedge Funds See 7.2% of assets in crypto by 2026 report. That asset allocation equates to about $312 billion across the sector. I found this a bit surprising. I thought that the number would be lower and that less hedge funds would be interested even 5 years from now. But as it says here, as many as 17% of the survey's 100 respondents expect more than 10% of their portfolios to be allocated to crypto in 2026. This was people who manage an average of $7.2 billion in assets, not small funds. And North American funds predict their crypto exposure will be 10.6%, while those in the UK and Europe forecast 6.8%. This is just a sign of institutional adoption. Seeing these macro hedge funds talking about Bitcoin as its own asset class and talking about the fact that they will likely be allocating to it in the future is massively bullish. It may take some time, but we are going to get there. Speaking of institutions, Microstrategy to sell up to $1 billion in stock, use part of proceeds to buy yet more Bitcoin. My God, Michael Saylor is out of control and we all love it. Just finished raising a junk bond for $500 million to buy Bitcoin, which might be happening as we speak. And only hours after the announcement of closing that, he said they would sell up to $1 billion in stock to buy more Bitcoin. Microstrategy has become a de facto ETF for Bitcoin, probably more volatility to the up and downside by buying their stock, even than buying Bitcoin itself. One thing is for sure, this guy is all in, is showing commitment on a level that nobody else is, and he will go down either as the most brilliant or craziest person in history when this is all said and done. My bias is towards most brilliant. In the next story, Bitcoin price bottom is in, says Fidelity exec as crypto market exits extreme fear. Now, you know, I said I thought the bottom was in when it hit 30,000 the first time. Peter Brandt agreed, and I still think that we are in a bottoming process here and are likely to go up before we go down again, but anything can happen. So these are all just guesses from myself, the Peter Brandt and Fidelities of the world. This analyst, Timmer, was looking at a chart of Bitcoin technicals versus GS retail faves. You can see a very similar pattern, and that GS retail faves ended up heading up after this head and shoulders and accumulation. So looking at the chart, he really believes that we're going to head up. I tend to agree, but like I said, those are just guesses. Fear and greed ditches the emotion. Fear and greed index is back near 40, leaving extreme fear, heading into just fear, but we still have a lot of room to grow. We are still in the bottom half of that index. People should be buying when there's fear and selling when there's greed, but as I talked about in the beginning, they tend to do exactly the opposite, but we are still fearful, which means we have room to grow up. And finally, no DOGE allowed. Thai SEC bans meme, fan, and exchange tokens as well as NFTs. Wow, strong-handed move by the Thai SEC. Hopefully we will not see similar things in the future from America or other countries. But here's what they said. Meme tokens, which the SEC describes as having no clear objective or substance, we can agree with that, or no support with the price, depending on the trend in the social world. Those are banned. Fan tokens are banned. NFTs, I'm surprised. Are you going to ban sneakers and baseball cards next? NFTs are just digital collectibles. I don't see why they'd be banned, but this seems really heavy-handed and aggressive. And of course, exchange tokens like BNB, Uni, and FTT that allow holders to get benefits such as reduced transaction fees on the corresponding exchanges. I hate to see this much regulation and to be this heavy-handed. They should build a framework around it and allow it and just make sure that consumers are safe. That's their goal. Outright banning is just stupid, in my opinion. That is all of the news and charts for today. I will be live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Chartapalooza if you guys want to hang out. Also, check out my newsletter and my amazing sponsor, Femex, down in the description. I put that newsletter out 5 times a week. It's only $15 a month, and there is a free version, so please sign up and check it out. Until tomorrow, peace.